Can you imagine your life where money is your friend, working with you to achieve all your dreams and desires? If you struggle seeing money as your friend, then join Kathy Cook Noble, financial advisor and educator on understanding how your money can work for you. It is possible. Now, here is Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Inspired Choices Network and Financially Speaking. I am your host, Kathy Cook Noble, and we are here to talk about finances and money and the fun of it. And I know when people out there hear the word finance, they don't usually put the word fun with it, but that's what we do here on Inspired Choices Network and on our show here, Financially Speaking, is we break it down and make it fun and make it very understandable because I absolutely believe that you can understand your own money, you can understand your own finances, and you can make it fun. So why not do that? And in my day job, I am a bookkeeper and a financial advisor, so I'm excited that I get to do this all day and on the show at night. So it's just a good time all the way around. And you're always welcome to call in and talk to us either live on the air. You can call us from our American number of 1-815-880-8255, or you can call us on our Canadian number, 1-613-800-8736. And of course, you're always welcome to join us in our chat room online so we can talk during the show, or you can ask questions if you're too shy to call in live and do it. Tonight, I'm so excited because we have a guest, and this guest is so exciting and so cool. And her topic is so unique, and really, I'm really excited to get Angela to share with you her story and her passion and her very cool business. And tonight we have Angela Patterson with us, and she is the owner of Zenfire Pottery. And Zenfire Pottery is a pottery company that we have here in Canada. And Angela has been with the company as the owner in St. Mary's, Ontario, and she is one of those very artistic, very cool people that you're going to be lucky enough to talk to. She is a loving and curious soul whose desire of creativity can come to learn and share in their love of clay. And she has a space where people can be real, they can connect with their true selves, let it show through their designs. And Angela started working with clay about 10 years ago, and it has become a true passion of hers. And when you talk to her, when you meet her, it's so clear and it just radiates through. She's finalizing her new studio, and that's going to be aiming for classes and workshops that start this summer. And with plans, she's going to open a store including pottery and other locally sourced products. And when she isn't at the studio, she's spending time with her kids, she's reading, or in the summer, she's sitting by the campfire with chips, which is my weakness, so I'm so excited to hear that. And we are going to introduce you to Angela Patterson. Angela, welcome to the show.
Hi, wow, that's quite an introduction. Thank you so much.
I'm excited to have you here. It's such a cool thing that you do, and I know I just can't possibly do it justice for people who are listening, so maybe I'll turn that over to you, and you can just share a little bit about what pottery is and how you got started.
Oh, my goodness. Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a passion of mine that has grown really intensely over the last few years. But yeah, I guess I can start with my story 10 years ago or so. And I just, honestly, I didn't like pottery. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I saw these, kind of really monotone colors and design. It just wasn't my style. It's a lot of people's style, but not mine. And I thought, so then I was up north and saw this amazing potter and just different colors and just different designs, the simplicity of it. I was just really intrigued me. And so my mom sourced a local potter, found her at a show, and she gifted me my first few lessons. And so it was just amazing how that all developed. And actually, funny enough, with the financial background that you have, I also have a accounting background, and I was a kind of a bookkeeper, worked for the bank for a number of years, and so I was able to exchange with this teacher. I caught her up on her books, and she gave me lessons, and I really couldn't have been more blessed with an amazing, knowledgeable teacher that I had to start right out of the gate. So, and we're now really close friends, and yeah, it's just really, really amazing. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm so glad you said that about the finance, because I always think it connects back to finance anyway.
Always.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's how you got started generally. But I know you've been doing your own thing for a lot of years, and now with your new studio, you're going to be expanding it. So maybe share a little bit about how you got to your new space. And I've seen some of your postings online, and it's looking fantastic. So I know you're creating a very special place, and it's not like a retail store where you come in and buy stuff. So share with us just a little bit on what you're creating there.
If I had to say anything, it would be experience and connection. I think I would put those two words right at the forefront. When I started this, my husband's a farmer, we're farmers together, and, going to be on the farm in this little shed. And I thought, wouldn't that be kind of a cool space? And then, just evolved over a couple of years. So now having this space in St. Mary's, and we've completely renovated the whole space, and it's this really bright, open, airy, I don't know, and you can feel the energy when you walk in the room, and that's what I want people to feel when they come in. It's not just a studio, and it's not just a store, like you said. It's really, I don't know, I just want people to be able to connect themselves and really let the creativity flow. And I think we're in an era where people are desiring those experiences and those opportunities to really, come out and be themselves. And so for me to have the opportunity to do that is really quite amazing. And all those things that I'm going to be offering there, it's pretty broad ranged for sure. But yeah, just that experience and connection, that's really what I'm going for sure.
Nice. And I know that's something that you're achieving just from knowing you and knowing how you do things. So that's for sure what's happening there. And just a little bit on that, maybe just we'll talk about this. We'll talk about your location for sure. I want to talk about your classes and workshops and all the things that you're going to be offering. And I want to talk about what's going to happen in the future, some growth plans and that kind of thing. But maybe we should just start with what pottery is and the process of what you're creating. It's not just, you're not going in to buy a mug or an ashtray or, whatever, glasses, cups, whatever. You're actually, you're buying something that's more than just a product. And maybe you can just start with what pottery is, how it gets created, and how it just goes from being that piece of clay to something that has a lot of meaning that you cherish for many, many years.
Absolutely. It's quite amazing, and as many different potters as you'll meet and talk to, there are as many different ways to create pottery. So I'll talk, of course, about my own method. Some basics, right? Especially if I'm doing wheel work. You take that lump of clay, you're starting with a pound or a pound and a half of clay, for example, to make a mug. And, you're centering it on the wheel, you're going through the process. Through this process, personally, part of my, branding, for lack of a better word, would be pottery with intention. And to talk about that intention and when I'm doing that work, when I'm working on the wheel. You'll make your cylinder to whatever height it will be, whatever mug design you're working on. And then it needs to dry for a few days. And then you add a handle a few days later after you make that. You let that dry for a few more days, and then it's got to go through the kiln to be fired, and that's, the first firing is approximately 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, and once it comes out of that kiln, which is about a 20 to 24-hour process, sometimes shorter, sometimes, just depending on, again, the potter, and then we go through the process and glaze it. We add the color, so the glaze is primarily made of clay and glass, so that when it ends up being food safe and dishwasher safe and all of those oven safe, all of those lovely things that make things easy to work with. And so once we add our glaze, we go through the second firing, and that's 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's where the glass melts to the pot. There's all kinds of chemistry and physical things that happen to it, but that's basically the process. And when it comes out, then you have your beautiful colors that you're anticipating.
That's so cool. It really is a labor of love, and that's the part that I want people to really understand is this is not where you go in and you spend a couple hours and you paint something or you mold something and you go home with it. This is something that you really are investing your time and your soul into to make really unique, or make it really unique for you to represent who you are or who it is that you're making it for even. And I think that's such a really cool and important part for people to know, that this is really you putting yourself into this creation. And it's some of the stuff I've seen of yours is just mind blowing. It's so good. And it's like awesome. And I know there's, I want to talk a little bit about, so there's a few things we have to talk about. One, only because I was one of these people that did not understand the difference between pottery and ceramics, and you helped me with that because I know when we were kids, and this is going to, for anybody out there at this age, they'll know now that when we were kids, that, there was ceramics that you could do with your mom or your grandma, and, you created a snowman or whatever, and you took it home that night or the next night, and it was all done, and that was it. And in my case, I probably broke it 6 times before it got home. But that was bad, very klutzy. That's what happens when you grow so fast. You become very clumsy when you're this tall.
But there you go.
See? So I want to talk about the difference between ceramics and pottery, and some of the similarities too, because there is some similarities to a creative process there. My own opinion is I think it's more creative on the pottery side, because you're actually starting from a lump and turning it into something and making it with a lot of your own love and spirit with it. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about how people can get involved in taking classes and how they can get a hold of you, and whether or not we have any online access to you, and how people can really plug in. And it's not just about them doing it. It's about them coming with people that they have a bond with, like friends or families, or it's a team exercise where you really come, you have a great time, and you can bond over courses. And you correct me if I'm wrong on any of that, but that's stuff that's being offered that you're doing, right?
Absolutely, all of it, yes. And then some.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, I know. And you've got this fantastic place that you can do that. So we're going to come up to our first break already, if you can believe it. And when we come back, I want to turn Angela loose on how the pottery process can work and the difference between it, how you can get involved, what to expect when you're going to go make pottery, because a lot of people are like, if you're like me and you're more of a numbers person and you think that side of your brain doesn't work as well as the other side of your brain, then Angela's going to explain to us how that is incorrect, and I am wrong on that you absolutely can do this, and you're absolutely going to be able to create something. And as a teacher for sure, but also as a potter, Angela is able to share with us some of the secrets on why us math people also could create pottery. So we're going to take our first break and come back and talk to Angela Patterson more about pottery and Zenfire Pottery here in St. Mary's, Ontario. I'm super excited to have her here tonight. So stay tuned. You are listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook-Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we're going to continue to talk to Angela about pottery. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathy Cook-Noble on the Inspired Choices Network. You are listening to Financially Speaking, and today we are talking with Angela Patterson from Zenfire Pottery. And before we went to the break, we were just getting a glimpse of what pottery is, what it means, how it actually can affect you emotionally and mentally, and all the great and wonderful therapeutic things that it can bring to your life. And Angela is not just a teacher of pottery, but she is actually a potter herself, and I'm going to say she's quite an artist because I've seen her work. And I just wanted to ask Angela to walk us through a little bit, for those of you out there that thinking the old style of pottery of that you either did in a workshop or at school, or whether you did ceramics outside of school. Angela's going to tell us the difference between all these different types of pottery. If you could, Ange, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, and before the break, I certainly focused on the technical side of it, but there's so much more to it when we can really sit down and work with it. The difference, I'm trying to remember actually what I told you, the difference between ceramics and pottery, and I think it has to do with maybe the creative process, and maybe ceramics might be more of an art form, but then lots of potters have an art form as well. Sometimes it can be hard to distinguish. But I would love to talk about more on, you mentioned before the break about how somebody with a numbers head can really get into that creative side, that side of the brain that you don't think actually works very well, but it does. It's all in there. It's all in there. And I think probably first and foremost is to take the expectation away from it. When people see pottery and they see, what somebody might call a perfectly formed mug or plate or any kind of design, you think, oh, geez, I can't do that. Well, It's actually quite a bit simpler than you think it is. And one of the things my first teacher, Beth, taught me was there's a lot you can do with lines and dots. And, you know, just keeping it simple. There's so many tools to create a design. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily from your mind. I mean, you can take, you know, a decorative maybe Christmas ball, even say from the dollar store, maybe not one that has glitter, but maybe one with a texture, and you roll that around in the clay, you know, at a certain depth, and then all of a sudden you have your design. And it's as simple as that sometimes, you know, and it just depends, and depends on if you're a symmetrical person or you're not. But that's the thing I really want to focus on with my classes and my workshops, is that when you can really focus on what you're doing, and the clay is in front of you, and a lot of times people refer to pottery as meditative, and this is where that comes from, is that when you're focusing and when you're pushing on the clay, when you're touching it, feeling it, working with it, you can't really think about anything else. There's no space left. And so when you take all of that energy and then you can focus kind of inward, and you even on your muscles in your body as you're moving the clay, even if it's just your fingers or whether it's you're working on the wheel and it's your whole arm, your whole upper body, to be able to be that mindful, to really kind of feel that and focus. And that's where that meditative stuff comes in. And that, to me, is where the creativity is. Is all of a sudden you shut off all of those voices and noises that we have, you know, from the rest of our lives, you know, the to-do list and the grocery list and the kids are calling me list and all of the lists that need to be done. They're gone. You can't think about them. And so then that opens up space for your creativity to come out. And that, awesome, to me, is a really cool, it's just a really cool way to be able to focus on something, right? And we're all so busy. I mean, everybody's got 101 things on their to-do list, and their families, and everything's a priority. And so it's just a really nice opportunity to slow down for a few minutes or an hour or two, depending on how long the classes you're in.
That's awesome. That's very cool. And for people like me, you have to focus, or else you're gonna break what you're working on, or the machine. I'm not sure. So
well, no,
you do have to concentrate a little bit.
Pottery is more. It is more durable than you think it is. That's for sure. I think, you know, a lot of the, you know, and there's a very big trend right now with, the business name has left me at the moment, but basically you go and you paint your own. So the piece is already created, but you're just going in to paint it, whether it's a mug or a plate or an animal sculpture or something. But what I'm creating is to go into it right from the get-go. So that creation is yours right from that very raw ball of clay. And so at that point, you can't break it. You're good.
So
you can take.
That's true. So, and you legitimately are creating an original when you create your own mug or plate or whatever you're going to mold, right? Everything is completely unique to what you're doing. So you're right. You really can't mess it up. So
no,
and you're there anyway to help fix it.
Well, there's some technical things we'll work through, but and then that's the really cool thing about it, and that's part of where the intention comes in, right? Is when you take that piece that you created home, then it's yours, and you can be proud of that piece, whatever that piece looks like, and you're like, wow, I created that, you know, and it just, evokes a feeling inside when you pick it up and use it. For example, if it's a mug, right? You're drinking your coffee in the morning and you're like, oh, wow, you know, and what a great way to start your day, that feeling of pride, right? Who wouldn't want that?
And I remember you talking about having that favorite mug of yours that has the emotion attached to it. Like either, I mean, I can tell you, I remember giving stuff to my grandma, you know, when I'd get her a mug and it's always that you're always excited when you see them using it. And I mean, when you're a little girl and you give your grandma or your grandpa something and then they're using it and they love it, it becomes their favorite because you gave it to them or you made it for them. And I think that it just adds a whole other layer to the special part really of the creating process, because you're usually doing that with something or somebody in mind. So I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when you're doing that with them in mind, something even more special comes out of it.
Absolutely. And that's what when I'm creating, I try to really focus on, you know, that joy or happiness or all of those feelings that you want to have in your day. And I've quite often had people say, you know, they pick up a piece without me prompting them, by the way, to, you know, pick up a piece and they can feel it. There's a different energy around it. And then on the bottom of my mugs, I put an intentional saying, you know, and even if it's something just as simple as be present or, you know, find joy or your abundance is great or anything, I've got all kinds of them. But just simply when you can set that intention along with the feeling that you have in that mug, then what an amazing feeling to carry through your day for sure.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, even to, you know, we were talking a bit about classes, and maybe this will segue into that, I don't know, but I've had a few families approach me and say, hey, we want to do something as a family. So then when you talk about, you know, creating that something with that somebody in mind, this takes it even a level deeper. When you can all create something in the same space, just creates that memory. I'm getting all choked up.
Exactly.
And, so to create that memory with your family. Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say that. So I love that you do something unique. And that, I mean, there's so many special things about your shop that you have to see it, you have to feel it, and you have to meet Angela to really, really appreciate how unique and special she is. But that's one of the things where you do that saying on the bottom of the item, and then that's exactly where I was going to go. And you can bring in a group. So you could bring in your family members, so, you know, mom and grandma and aunts and so forth and uncles. This is not for women only. And you can bring them in, and it's not just about creating something. You're sharing the experience of creating it, and then you always have that conversation, you know, where you're sitting around at Christmas or birthdays or whatever the case is, and you're all using your particular creation for that event, and you're like, oh, remember when we went and did this? And I mean, I have memories of, I mentioned ceramics, and I told you the story before where I'm good at math, but I created this ceramic spoon holder for my mom, and I literally broke it like 5 or 6 times, and I was probably 6 years old, and I remember going all the time to the studio and doing this, and I remember crying every time I broke it, and I remember Miriam was the teacher, and she fixed it every time I broke it, and you couldn't tell, and I just thought, that's it, it's over, and she fixed it every single time I'd come back, and it would be back in one piece, and it was amazing. It was fascinating, and I remember that from being 6 or 7 years old. So when people go in together as a family to do that stuff, you can imagine the conversation and how long. I mean, that's 40 years ago. So you can imagine when you still talk about, you know, here I am 40 years later telling you I remember that whole situation that when we had that class. So this is the kind of stuff you're creating. And then the end result happens to be you have a very cool product. So that's right. I think that's so cool. And that's the stuff I want to let people know. I want them to know, how many people they can bring in a class. And we're going to talk about your classes and your workshop after the next break. We're up to our second break for the night, and we're going to continue talking about pottery. We have Angela all night. We have her for the whole hour of the show. So we're going to take our second break. You're listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we're going to continue to talk about the magic that Angela creates with Zenfire Pottery. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Money is complicated, right? Actually, no, it's not. You don't have to be a trader on Wall Street to get a handle on your money. TV shows often instill fear to keep you believing you can't understand it or do anything yourself. If dealing with your finances brings up a lot of other F words, then you need to read All Ladies Should Use the F Word, A Guide to Loving Your Finances by Kathy Cook Noble. Kathy helps you take control of your finances and leave the other F word, fear, in the dust. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy at bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathy Cook Noble on the Inspired Choices Network, and you are listening to Financially Speaking. And tonight we have with us for the whole hour Angela Patterson. She is the owner and creator at Zenfire Pottery in St. Mary's, Ontario. And she's been sharing with us some of her wisdom and secrets of the pottery world and how it's more than just an art project. It's more than just creating a product. It's about the full body experience because it includes all parts of you to be present. It includes you to be mentally present. It includes you to be physically present. It includes you to get both sides of your brain working. So those of us out there that are math oriented, this is something that we can do, and we can do it well. And we can create something that's beautiful and very functional and something we can be proud of. And just before we went to break, we were talking about classes and workshops and some of the very cool activities that Angela's having happen at her studio. So I was going to let you share with us a little bit about your studio, actually, Angela, if you would, like where it is, how people can access finding you online or by telephone, by email, whichever, and what kind of courses and all the things that are going to be happening. Some of the things that are going to be happening, because I know there's going to be a lot that we're probably not going to cover at all, but as much as you can. Let us know about your new beautiful studio.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. We'd be another hour, I think, but the space itself is right on Main Street in St. Mary's, Ontario, and the address for your GPS to get there is 114 Queen Street East. St. Mary's, if you haven't been, is one of the most beautiful towns that I think I've ever been to. I just, quick on a side note, I remember as a kid actually going travel with my dad with his business and coming up to St. Mary's, and I didn't live here, had no idea where we were really. I was, 6 or 7 years old. And I remember walking into the store and looking at the stone, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really cool. Wouldn't it be neat to live here? And then here I am, 30 years later and living here and opening up a business right here in St. Mary's. And it's known as the Stone Town, so even if you just come for that piece of it, you'll be in a bit of a wow factor. They've got walking trails, and part of what I want to do with my business, create retreats, day-long retreats, weekend retreats, and it will incorporate this gorgeous town, that the Thames River runs right through. We've got a little waterfall. So that's a little bit about St. Mary's. And then, the space is right there. 3/4 of my space, is the studio, so we have lots of room to create. Wheel classes are going to be around 6 people. I think it's a really good number to have more one-on-one teacher-to-student focus, so that as a student you can really make some progress and feel like you're getting the help that you need. And the space allows for that as well. On the hand building side, where you're not really using the wheel at all, and you're just working with, slabs of clay, cutting it, molding it, shaping it into whatever form. It's certainly the faster way to end up with a really functional piece than the wheel right at the very beginning, but it just has a whole different look to it. So those classes will have, 8 or 10 people. We've got some beautiful table space, lots of lighting in that space. And, and then we'll have the front piece, which will be the store space, which will have my work, some other potters that I know real well, and other locally sourced products that I'm really focusing on entrepreneurs that have a real passion for what they do, because I have a real passion for what I do. So I think that, those two things really, really go together. And I know there's lots of artistic and people who need a space to sell their work as well. So that's what the store is going to be about. So yeah, did I cover everything there? I feel like I got sidetracked. I'm missing something here.
No, that's good. I want to ask you a little bit, as far as the classes are going to be set up, are they going to be scheduled where people can come, once a week, or is it where you sign up for maybe a 6 class program, or is it one night? Is there going to be different kinds of classes, summer classes for kids, like summer school, or I guess summer camp, more like than summer school. Some might not like that school word and think that sounds fun, but more like a summer camp type thing. Is that going to be on the schedule?
Yeah, well, I don't have summer camp. They're not this particular summer, but that might be summer of 2020 for sure. But I'm hoping to start classes this summer. And you're right, there will be all kinds of different options. There'll be daytime classes, evening classes, weekend classes. A class I would call would be once a week, and it'd be about 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours, I believe. And it'd be a 6-week long commitment. And I did that for 2 reasons. One is so that people can really have a good experience over those 6 weeks, really get their feet wet with the clay, or their fingers, I guess, and but also make it financially accessible to people too. So there's a bit of both sides there. And then there's also going to be half-day workshops where those will be 2 to 3 hours, depending on exactly what we're making, what we're working on, or team building opportunities for you and your coworkers, birthday parties for kids, all kinds of seasonal stuff. If you want to come and bring a bottle of wine and have a girls' night out, that's an option too. I'm really open to what people are wanting to do themselves and the ideas that they can create.
Awesome. I'm picturing, as you were talking, I was thinking, this would be a great a couples thing that you could do. So either you and your spouse or partner, or there's a couple of you that go out for dinner. You could go to your class, go out for dinner, and make it a really nice couples night. Because I think about the things that you can do as a couple, and really what comes up is usually dance lessons. And if you're like me, I'm not a dancer, and that's not something that I would say let's, my husband and I are going to go out and do dancing. Neither one of us would choose that as our event of choice at night. But I could totally see couples saying, you know what, it'd be great to grab, my husband and I grab another couple and we go to our class for 2 or 3 hours, like you said, and then you go out for dinner or whatever. Because, really, other than that, you have a movie or you have dance lessons, and there's nothing wrong with either of them, but it's such a nice change in pace, I think, for your mind and for your experience that you can have. So I think that's exciting. I kind of was, as you're saying that, I'm picturing, I'm like,
who doesn't think of the movie Ghost when you are
I know, right?
thinking of pottery?
I totally hadn't think. I was bring that up.
We could do a whole Patrick Swayze photo shoot.
Seriously, I know. I'm picturing like a Patrick Swayze a photo op where you have the wheel with something coming in mind with you sitting there. Yeah. That'd be great.
Exactly.
I know. So anybody out there who's listening who up until now hasn't quite figured out what pottery is, you just figured it out with the ghost reference. So all of that's it right there. They're all like, now you're going to have a lineup because people are like, yeah, sign me up for that scene.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's awesome. Oh. That is awesome. So are you going to be, I know, I want to ask you a couple of things. One, I want to talk to you still about your store. Is there going to be online showings where you can see things that are available that people can either purchase online? Because we have a lot of listeners around all of Canada and the United States, in addition to other parts in the world. Like we have people from China and Australia and so forth that are listeners. So for them, is there an opportunity to view stuff online or to see it online when the new store, the new studio is ready to go?
There definitely will be. My website, I'm really in the beginning stages of everything. My website is zenfirepottery.ca, and on that website you will be able to book your classes, see our class schedule. I'm also going to be having other teachers, not necessarily pottery. I've got a bullet journaling lady that I've been connected to, and a lady who's going to teach painting on glass. All of that stuff you'll be able to find on the website with a whole calendar of events, which will make it easy for everybody to register, as well as my work. Because I'm in the beginning stages, I'm just figuring out my glaze colors. And again, as I said before, there's a whole chemistry piece to that, figuring out the ingredients and making sure that the glaze fits the clay and fires through the kiln okay. And because ultimately, as a student and as a teacher, I want you guys to come out with a successful piece. So I need to do the back-end work, and that's just what I'm working on right now. So the website won't have any of the products up there yet, but it will. As far as buying through the website, again, yeah, that will come as I have more inventory on my available to purchase.
Good. Oh, that's awesome. And people, will they be able to contact you and say, you know what, Angela, I love the idea, but I can't get to the course or I can't get there. Can you make it for me? So they can essentially hire you or pay you to make it for them so that they can get the products that they want. Is that going to be an option too?
Oh, it absolutely already is, absolutely. And okay. I've had a few big custom orders, and for businesses who want to do gifts or even for personal gifts for your friends or family. So, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. So we're up to our last break of the night. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and finish our conversation with Angela Patterson from Zenfire Pottery, and we will ask her what's the most popular item that people make. So we'll think about what would be the most popular item, and then Angela will tell us the actual one. So you are listening to Financially Speaking with myself, Kathy Cook-Noble, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we're going to talk to Angela Patterson about Zenfire Pottery for a few more minutes before we wrap up for the night. But we've been super happy to have her all night. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Money is complicated, right? Actually, no, it's not. You don't have to be a trader on Wall Street to get a handle on your money. TV shows often instill fear to keep you believing you can't understand it or do anything yourself. If dealing with your finances brings up a lot of other F words, then you need to read All Ladies Should Use the F Word, A Guide to Loving Your Finances by Kathy Cook-Noble. Kathy helps you take control of your finances and leave the other F word, fear, in the dust. This is Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathy Cook-Noble on the Inspired Choices Network. You are listening to Financially Speaking, and we have had a special guest tonight, Angela Patterson from Zenfire Pottery. And you can check her out on Facebook. She is on Instagram. She is online, so you can access her on her website, which is being under construction just now, but there's going to be a whole lot more new things that she's adding to it, including her class schedule where you can sign up, take lessons. You can contact her. You can order stuff directly from her. You can order custom from her, so she'll make it for you, and she'll probably even let you take the credit for it. So she'll make it. You can tell people you made it. So don't hesitate to reach out and talk to Angela about anything about pottery and the really, really great experience that you can have with it, including connecting with people that you don't know really well or people that you know really well to make a stronger connection. And Angela, before we went to our breaks, we talked a lot about different things tonight with pottery and your new studio and how exciting it is actually, because it's really coming along beautifully in the photos that you've been sharing. What else would you say people should know about pottery? And what is the most popular item that you see people make or ask you for?
The most popular thing, mugs, would have to be the very first thing. Even in the classes that I've helped out with at our local guild, everybody wants a mug. I don't know necessarily why it's the first thing they think of. I guess it's the easiest thing to use, not necessarily the easiest thing to make. But that would be the first. That's what comes to mind first. Is that what you were thinking?
Okay. Well, I wonder, and then I was going to ask you what the easiest thing to make, if there was one thing. I thought, if mug's the most popular, that doesn't look that easy to me because it's got different, it's not like just a square.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's probably not the easiest, right? But what would you think? Yeah, I think the blob, that's it. Malika, the blob's the easiest one we have posted. What's the easiest one that you would think to make?
Probably something on the hand building side. The wheel takes a lot of practice and a lot of years to get good at. But yeah, hand building, and if you wanted just to make a bowl, or even a plate, it would be about the same. I mean, you can, if you used a mold of some kind, there's different ways, and I mean, really, you can use anything as a mold. So you put your texture, your design in it, you put your slab of clay in the bowl, and it can be called done. I mean, it's maybe not quite that simple, but yeah, that's kind of the basic of it. That's all you need. We'll keep it pretty basic.
Nice. And is it easier to do the hand molding versus the when you're doing I guess it sounded like it's easier to do the hand molding than the wheel, but can you do the same thing on both? Like, could you do a bowl on the wheel as well as hand molding?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But definitely the wheel, centering the clay on the wheel is one of the hardest parts of the whole process, and it's the very first thing that you have to do. So that just takes time, like I said, and with the hand building, much easier, but you can make pretty well anything you can make on a wheel, you can make in hand building. It's just a different process for sure.
Okay. So is it fair to say that anybody could come into the studio and you could have them leave with a product that they can use and brag about and show off to people? Because really, that's what happens, right? Look what I made, and I don't care how old you are. When you make something like that, you're like, look what I made, right?
For sure.
So anybody can go in there. It doesn't matter your artistic skill level, and you can come out with something.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, when we say come out with something, you wouldn't actually leave with it that day, because even if you're in a 2 or 3 hour workshop, I'd still have to finish the process for you. But if you were coming from a distance and you we're stopping through town, shipping is definitely available after I've glazed and finished a piece for you. And we can ship it anywhere in the world. So there's that option too.
Yeah, and you said the kiln was 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that what you said at the beginning?
The bisque firing. Yeah, at the start. Yeah, that's the first firing, and then the second firing is 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. So,
wow.
It's quite
definitely
a process.
Yeah, so we definitely want you to be doing that part.
Yeah,
you finish that part, because that sounds like wow. You wouldn't want to have anything go wrong there. That's where you should be like you. That's awesome. What's next for Angela and Zenfire besides the big grand opening, and what is it you would really like to leave with the listeners about either you or the studio or anything in pottery in general?
I'm really excited to start into the next venture, next steps. I read a quote here actually just before we got on the phone, and it says, your business today is a result of what happened 90 days ago. Well, 90 days ago we got possession of the space, so I've been in a renovation blur ever since then, and so I'm just really excited to actually get people in the space, start teaching, start creating my own work in there. Just to be in that space more, for sure. That's kind of my next step, and just really excited to be there. And I really appreciate this opportunity to have this conversation.
I'm so happy to have you here. And for those of you out there that are listening, and follow Angela on Facebook, and she's really good at posting updates about what's happening and her space, so you can see how beautiful it is and how it's really coming together so magically. So I would really encourage you to follow her at Zenfire Pottery on Facebook and on Instagram, and then reach out to her when you're ready to create your own. Thank you so much for being with us, Angela. I really enjoyed having you this whole show, and I encourage everybody to really do a little bit of investigation and enjoy the experience of the pottery, because you'll be amazed at how good you feel about it. We'll see you next week right here on Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. And until then, just enjoy your week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Financially Speaking Radio Show. Kathy Cook Noble will return next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.